Why does the wing of the plane go through the window panes in the airport? What's going on up here? What the f is going on there? Why is the turbine pointed outwards towards the wing, not in front of it? So, second panel ever, I believe, is generated AI. This already sucks, in my opinion. This sucks so goddamn much and I hate it. What's with the fucking windows on the plane? Why does this plane have no windows? Why is the plane behind it more textured than this one? I'm getting so worked up over this. Hi, how are you? My name's Beta. I talk about furry things on the internet, but today we're gonna be talking about my favorite series of all time, Jujutsu Kaisen. I love this series so much. I mean, yeah, half my wardrobe is literally just Jujutsu Kaisen like merchandise. It is no secret that I love Jujutsu Kaisen. I've loved it ever since the first season of the anime. Then I started picking up the manga because I saw, oh, there's stuff happening in Shibuya. Wait, they mentioned Shibuya in the series. What is this arc? It's the Shibuya incident arc. And then I started following the manga ever since the lakes, starting into the Culling Games arc, which that's not really spoilers, but I guess for this video, spoiler warning, I will be talking about some things that happen in the manga that haven't happened in the anime. So for those that are not aware and don't want spoilers, just feel free to skip this video. It's okay. There are some very heavy spoilers that we will be discussing because I want to talk about the travesty that is Jujutsu no Kaisen, the fan project that is meant to rewrite the ending of the original manga by Gege Akutami. And it is as bad as people are saying it is. In fact, no one was really excited for it to begin with when it was announced in October of last year. They were like, hey, don't do this. This seems a bit disrespectful to the creator, and the tone and approach that you're taking is not really respectful at all, so don't do it. Everyone was like, we don't want this. We don't want that. And then, lo and behold, they ended up releasing the first chapter of the rewritten ending on the 1st of 2025. So, hey, we got to see what they were cooking up, and they were not cooking, in my opinion. In fact, I'm quite honestly a little bit pissed off that I read it. Like, I kind of envy myself from 10 minutes ago before I read it. But hey, we're going to do this video and talk about it, and talk about how disrespectful it was, and hopefully shed some light on what the creator went through when making the original Jujutsu Kaisen series and going through with the ending that they did. Which, TLDR on that, the Jujutsu Kaisen manga is officially over. It's been ended and finished. The series has been wrapped up ever since September 30th of 2024, and the overall reception to the ending was very mixed. Some people loved it, some people hated it and despised it. I thought it was just okay. In my opinion, I think the author kind of wrote himself into the corner near the last few chapters with it. The cycle ended up being someone is sent in to fight Sukuna fully powered. They end up unlocking some new power, breaking their limit, and then they get like double donut fisted by him, and then they have to be rotated out and someone else is rotated in, and the process is going on repeat until eventually Sukuna is killed. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I just know by the end of this video, people are going to be foaming at the mouth at me with how I pronounced all of this. So, yeah. As much as I was excited to still see it, it got a little bit stale. And then the ending just kind of brought in Nobara again, and just that was weird, and that was kind of really it. There were some exciting points during those fights. I am going to be so thrilled to see it when it's animated, but the ending was just, it was okay. I don't think it was the worst thing in the world, like everyone is saying it is. And that's the thing. I've been a part of, I guess, the anime manga community even before I became a furry. And I know how dedicated some people are to the series. I mean, we all see it all the time, whether it's the cringe that, fans of a certain franchise or fandom end up making, to some of the downright heinous and awful things some people say about the series and completely disclude the fact that it was written by people or a person. And they're just so mean about what they say. I mean, I was there for the weekly leaks of the chapters on Twitter, and I saw some very heinous and awful things said about Gege Akutami, about the story, critiquing it to a degree that just didn't seem constructive or nice. It was just, mean. And that's just something we kind of all understand with anime fans, especially very, very dedicated anime fans. Not to say that everyone is, of course, but we all know how it can end up being. But for some, it was so bad that it warranted them putting together a little fan project to rewrite the ending of Jujutsu Kaisen from chapter 237 onward, called Jujutsu no Kaisen. And it is awful. I truthfully wish I could get that 10 minutes of my life back from having to read it. And so that's why I decided to do this video to go over it, because from what the creator or creators of Jujutsu no Kaisen say, it's supposed to be a retelling with all respect to the original creator, rewriting the ending, fleshing out the characters more, building up the universe more, in a way that isn't as disappointing as the original ending. And this was announced in October of 2024, and pretty much everyone was saying, yeah, we don't want this, don't do this seems very disrespectful to the creator, and it was especially in the tone or way that they were doing it. In the original announcement, they put out, "Great news for fans of Jujutsu Kaisen manga. Since not everyone liked the original ending, we decided to draw a new ending starting from chapter 236 that contains exciting and wonderful things, and we will focus on writing the characters perfectly and drawing with high quality. The name of the manga will be Jujutsu no Kaisen." Which, first thing, if you are going to do a rewriting of an ending for a series or a fanfic, you know, if you're trying to go for a fanfic, I can see that. I can see wanting to do it in a respectful way. This is not in a respectful way, especially if you know a lot of the context of what the original creator Gege Akutami was going through when trying to write the original series Jujutsu Kaisen. Titling it Jujutsu no Kaisen is not showing respect to the original creator or the original creation. And especially with phrasing like, "Since no one liked the ending, we decided to draw a new ending that contains wonderful new things, writing the characters perfectly, and drawing with high quality." Like, it seems like it's throwing shade at the original creator, who also, on a bi-weekly basis, him and his team slaved away at trying to put together this series, but seeing the sheer popularity of Jujutsu Kaisen, I'm sure it wasn't easy for any of the writers or any of the team on that to put together something in hopes that everyone will like it. Now here's the thing, fanfics are okay. Rewriting an ending and taking your own approach to it in a fanfic sense is okay. But titling it Jujutsu no Kaisen seems, to me, the most disrespectful way of doing it. Like, you're trying to make it an official but unofficial thing. And in fact, it's so unofficial that, you know, the manga creator has said nothing about it. Now, the best part, or I guess worst part in this case, about Jujutsu no Kaisen, at least the first chapter, is supposedly they use generative AI for some of the panels, and some of the characters or panels themselves are traced over from the original series. So, color me surprised with that one, especially with the tone and approach that they were taking with it. And as such, everyone is pretty much dunking on this. In fact, it got a community note on the original post. "This is not official. The linked ending is fan-made and contains traced panels and possible AI-generated artwork. The contents of this work are not made by the original creator, Gege Akutami, nor approved by him or his co-creators." It doesn't seem like they want to do any respect to the original series or the original creator. They're just trying to rewrite the ending in a way that seems like, oh, we deserved better. We're gonna do a better job than the original creator. When it's like, if you know anything about what Gege Akutami was going through, and I'm also gonna go over it later, his little final words, his letter that he wrote lamenting about the process of writing Jujutsu Kaisen for 7 years and how it affected and changed him and how he's kind of learning from it. If you took any of this into account, you'd know, okay, maybe this isn't a good thing. Like, yeah, you know, it's not the best ending in the world, but like, that is just, this Jujutsu no Kaisen thing is so disrespectful. And I want to go over it today just to show just how awful and poorly put together it is, along with showing what I believe might also be some of the AI generated pieces. It's not specifically in the characters in the foreground, it's in the background, and it's like one of the first panels. But for a bit more context on the original creator, or one of the co-creators, Gege Akutami, he ended up writing Jujutsu Kaisen for 7 years. He started the series 7 years ago. I believe at some point he had plans to wrap it up really early, like during like the prison arc where like Yuji supposedly dies in season 1, like I think it's like episode 3 or 4. He had plans to wrap it up, I believe, but then it started taking off and started becoming more successful, so he kept writing it. And for 7 years, he ended up going through this whole series, releasing it on, from what I believe was a bi-weekly to weekly basis for each chapter. And then the popularity skyrocketed after season 1 was so well received, and then the Shibuya incident arc, which despite its shortcomings with, you know, MAPPA Animation Studios, and we all know the kind of stuff happening there, everyone still loved the series. And so that's why when the chapter leaks were happening on a weekly basis, it was so popular. It was trending on Twitter literally a day before the leaks were happening. So Gege Akutami had some very big shoes to fill with the series that they were putting together, that they were writing for. And they did this for 7 years. They put together a series, and everything up till I think chapter 227 was beautiful and amazing. Even after that was awesome to read through. I believe he was also dealing with some health issues at the time while also writing this, along with his team who was writing and putting together the manga. He ended up actually putting out a letter at the end of the final chapter being released, or the final volume being published, lamenting about a lot of his problems going through with writing this series, in which the main thing that I believe was the case, he was very aware of the criticisms and comments that people were talking about him in the series while he was writing it. And this is what he supposedly wrote after the final chapter and final volume was released. And this is going to be a little long, but I want you to have a little bit of context as to who this creator is and what he was doing for Jujutsu Kaisen in the series overall. The product of Jujutsu Kaisen was pissed out for 6.5 years, nearly 7 if you include the serialization of the special issues. And what I learned was, I am really an idiot. I was, of course, pushing myself to the limits to pull out everything I could from my creations, and after about 3 years of serialization, my already rough personality began to become absent-minded. Even though I was complaining that I'm fed up with having things pointed out to me that could be figured out by looking it up on the internet, I still made the mistake on volume 18 with the sandpin, and ended up thinking like Gecko Moria that, well, if something happens, the people around me will figure it out. I've also been writing the openings for 6.5 to 7 years through instincts, but what this means is that the adults around me were just that reliable. I have really greatly troubled all of my editors, Katayama-san, Ikeda-san, and Fukuda-san, the volume manager Yanagita-san, and the designer Ishino-san, and my assistants. Speaking of being troubled, I believe I put quite a bit of stress every week on the editorial department and everyone at the printers. I really apologize greatly for that. Jujutsu began running with my first editor, Yamanaka-san, and we immediately entered an underground forced labor arc, but he periodically communicated with me. Thank you, and I'm grateful for meeting you. So the process of going through and making Jujutsu Kaisen wasn't the smoothest in the world, and he very much laments this in the first part of this written letter. The reason I did not talk much in between the volumes was because I had become absent-minded. When first becoming serialized, I took into consideration that Jujutsu Kaisen was being serialized in a major magazine. That being, I think, Shonen Jump he's referencing there. I had this feeling of trying to do my best to alleviate those who would read Jujutsu Kaisen and feel hurt, and those who would be hurt by those who read Jujutsu Kaisen. The result of that was telling myself, shut up, I get it. You, Akutami, just want to be seen as a good person, and hurting myself. So I stopped trying that. To begin with, that very idea was prideful, and I understand how that was due to me lacking the conviction to put my created work out into the world. This is embarrassing, but even now, I do not fully have that conviction. When considering the evil intent that doesn't exist, I still want to shout out loudly, but the root cause of it is my immaturity as a mangaka, so I hold it in. Or rather, I continue on in a condition where all I can do is swallow it down. So it seems like he's struggling with himself with even the process of going through writing Jujutsu Kaisen for a major magazine, in this case, for a major publication. He had big shoes to fill, and it ended up getting the best of him from what he said. It ended up eating away at him. The way I read this, all this pressure was put on him, and he was very aware of how popular of a series Jujutsu Kaisen ended up being. And he ended up putting a lot of stress on himself as a result, whether that was on himself internally, on his team, on people at the printers. And in the end, he was very grateful for those that were able to help him out with the whole series overall. The good thing about Shonen Jump is that the brand image is built around not the creator, but the created. And so by trusting myself to make it so that readers can read my manga without worry, I will take the lessons of these 7 years to heart, and I want to overcome my problems after this. I have books packed that I bought during serialization, some for study, some just to have around because they might make me smarter. In truth, I do feel they made me smarter just by having them around, even if I didn't read them. It's scary. This is the end of Jujutsu Kaisen that I have drawn. To the people who read it all at once when it became topical, to those who read it wanting to see what came after the anime, to the person who just happened to read this final volume, any reason is fine. I truly thank you. Until we meet again. So at the end of the day, you can just read and see how much went into putting together this series and how much internally Gege Akutami struggled with when putting out these chapters on a weekly to bi-weekly basis. And that's not even considering the health concerns and health issues he had at the time that he was overcoming while also putting this out there. And I'm not going over this to make anyone feel bad about how this series ended up going overall, but just to kind of give a perspective that there's a person behind this popular series who is also struggling with himself with how popular it is. There's always something to someone who creates something, and that's the best way to kind of understand it. These creations, as much as they might be critiqued and beloved and sometimes fanatically ripped apart or brought to light, are created by people. And so taking this into account with how Gege Akutami felt at the end of the final chapter after 7 years of writing this series, it's weird for me to believe that Jujutsu no Kaisen was made with respect to the creator. Like, if any of this was known at all, which, you know, hopefully it's the case that they didn't know, there's no way that Jujutsu no Kaisen was created in respect to Gege Akutami or the original series. So how bad actually is Jujutsu no Kaisen? Well, might potentially be AI generated. And like, I hate to say it too, but like, it kind of feels like it fits the bill. It fits the shoe for how the tone and approach that I have seen from, you know, Jujutsu no Kaisen on Twitter of like, we're gonna make a better ending. It doesn't seem like someone who wants to respect the series. It just seems like someone who felt entitled to a better ending or entitled to better. It doesn't seem like a celebration of the original series. It just seems like, oh, I can do better. At least that's how it reads to me, and I feel like to a lot of others who have been critiquing Jujutsu no Kaisen, from the point of them announcing their first chapter back in October to now, where they release the first chapter, which everyone seems to be dunking on. So here it is, Jujutsu no Kaisen, the website, and this seems so disrespectful, truthfully. Alright, introduction. The Jujutsu Kaisen manga has ended, and who does not know it, the ending did not satisfy everyone, as there were many exciting events that would have formed a very wonderful ending. I wonder why the original writer Gege didn't focus on it, with all due respect to him. I don't know, dude, because maybe he's been writing it for 7 fucking years now. And keep in mind, the letter that Gege Akutami wrote at the end of the final release, that was like a taste into what he was feeling throughout the process, or at the end of it, reflecting on it. I don't know if Gege Akutami is actually on Twitter, but I hope to God he isn't. People are just vile. They're just awful. I wonder why the original writer didn't focus on it, with all due respect to him. So my group and I decided to change the ending and make it satisfy everyone. We will focus on accurate drawings, interesting events, and ideal scenarios while giving the characters their full rights. I thought about it carefully before making this decision. The new ending will starting from chapter 236 because I saw it as fitting for the events I'm thinking of. I'm so excited to see your reaction after seeing my work. That's the thing too. Chapter 236, I believe, from what they're doing with the Jujutsu no Kaisen, was like the big moment where like everyone collectively went quiet on Twitter. Like, we saw that one panel of Gojo lying dead, bisected on the ground. And I saw it like an hour or two before like the official leaks from Miyamura had happened. And I was like, is this real? Like, shit. And I had my sister text me, who's a fan of the series, like, is this real? Is Gojo dead? I'm like, wait, hold on. There are some very talented artists out there. Let's wait and see. It could be a fan drawing or edit, when lo and behold it was. And when we saw it, when we realized Gojo was dead, we were just like, yep, that's it. Like, there was a collective silence after that for 200 plus chapters. And then all of a sudden, everyone's like one of their favorite characters is dead. It was a very big emotional moment for those who were very connected with the series. It was an emotional moment for me because I love this series to death. And so recreating it and starting especially on that, you've got some big ass shoes to fill. You have to go above and fucking beyond with recreating or rewriting Jujutsu Kaisen from this chapter onward. And so, let's see what they have to offer. So Jujutsu no Kaisen, King of Curses, Chapter 1, Part 1. I'm gonna zoom out a little bit so we can read the full chapter and see everything. There we go. So pretty much it starts off from the point where Gojo is in the airport, you know, waking up to see Geto after dying in the afterlife. Here's the one thing that I recognize right off the bat. What's going on with the background here in the airport? Why does the wing of the plane go through the window panes in the airport? What's going on up here? What the fuck is going on there? Why is the turbine pointed outwards towards the wing, not in front of it. So second panel ever, I believe, is generated AI. This already sucks, in my opinion. This sucks so goddamn much, and I hate it. I know the focus isn't supposed to be the background, but the fact that this was, like, what is going on here? What's going on here? What's that? What's up there? Like, hold on. It even gets worse when you go on. What the fuck is going on back here? This is the plane. What's with the windows? You can't tell me. Like, what's with that? What the fuck? Dude. And that's the thing on Twitter. They were making fun of people for thinking that they used generated AI and used an example later on in the manga. Dude, you could literally just see the first 2 fucking panels here. What's with the fucking windows on the plane? Why does this plane have no windows? Why is the plane behind it more textured than this one? I'm getting so worked up over this, but regardless, starts off with Gojo waking up, seeing Geto, his longtime friend. It's been a long time. Him being shocked. I know you're shocked to see your best friend again. I believe this was one of the examples that people used for one of the panels or images that was traced for this one, which that's kind of neat. I'm sure there are some comparisons that'll be shown throughout this video of traced or not traced, but regardless, it's rude to respond this way to someone you haven't seen in a long time. I thought you were a fake Geto. Fake Geto? Forget it, I missed you too, my friend. I also love how Jujutsu no Kaisen jumps between like 4 different art styles. That's fascinating. Follow me. To where? To a quiet place free of curses. Do you think curses were hindering my life? Just follow me. There are people waiting for you behind this door. I don't know what kind of retelling this is supposed to be, what extra context this gives, but I'd like to think that in the original chapter 236, that the way they did the airport scene here was supposed to be subtlety. You know what subtlety is? It's supposed to be where the viewer, interpret it in whichever way you'd like. Is this purgatory? Is this like the gate into the afterlife? And they were very subtle about doing it. Little to no words and just kind of going through with the characters. And now, at least in this one, they just kind of throw it in your fucking face. And they're like, oh, hey, oh, this is the gate to the afterlife now. And saying like, oh, you can leave and go through this door to be peaceful with friends. It remains your choice. And then Nanami is there. And like, what happened to subtlety? This is the one thing I really hate that is happening more and more as years have gone on. There is no such thing as like interpreting things, symbolism, like people looking at a piece of work and trying to interpret it or get a feel for it, try and understand what the author, creator is doing here, you know? It's all just like everything has to be spoken to you directly as to what's happening. As per like one of the panels that happens later, which, Gojo was defeated. It was supposed to, I think they actually rewrote this panel a little bit because it said something like so cliche and obvious. Let me see. I think it was another thing here. Yeah. So like originally that panel was supposed to read like this. You were magnificent, Satoru Gojo. I shall never forget you for as long as I live. The king of curses drained all his efforts and energy because of his opponent, who was very strong. Is this needed? I feel like I can see that from how, like, what's the point of all the art if you gotta explain it so, like, liberally here? Because of his opponent, who was very strong. Was Gojo strong? I don't know, guys. I feel like I wouldn't understand that unless I had this little text blob here telling me that Gojo was very strong. You guys get it? Do you guys know he's strong? I didn't. I surely didn't until I read this. But yeah, that was the original panel of how this read. But they ended up rewriting and changing it a little bit for the dialogue. Sukuna rightfully claims the title of the strongest ever after overcoming the most powerful individual of his era. You are magnificent, Satoru Gojo. I shall never forget you for as long as I live. He made things very easy for his students to win. Again, there's no foreshadowing, there's no interpretation, it is just all like spoon-fed to you. And this is why I hate, how media has kind of become what it has. Where's the depth? Where's the emotion? And especially, with this panel to follow of like, he was very strong because his opponent was very strong and having everything like kind of force-fed explained to you. That's why I think, instead of doing a whole fucking retelling of the manga and drawing it, they should have just gone for the fan fiction approach. Just get the Wattpad account started, go to fanfiction.net and just do that. Or is it fanfiction.com? I don't know. And now it just jumps right into it. The Lightning Lord has intervened. Ugh. My beloved Kashimo Hajime. He's probably one of my favorite characters in the series. Kashimo and Maki are like two of my favorites. They're so fucking cool. And Uraume intervenes with a huge block of ice. I think this is supposed to be a dialogue, but oh, it is. I just can't really see it with the sheer contrast going on here. I hate to say this, but I won't let you interfere, because I made a promise. Domain expansion. I don't care about that. What I care about is helping Sukuna. Ice formation. The weapon that Yorozu gave to Sukuna as a gift before her death is inside the massive blocks of ice. Oh, sorry. Is inside the massive blocks of ice. The massive ice chunk exploded directly above Sukuna. You don't need to explain that. You can show that. Here. You don't need this text box. The weapon is now in his... You don't, shit, my bad, I didn't know he caught the weapon. In fact, I didn't know this was the weapon either. That's my bad. Which I also understand. I do want to at least say, maybe English isn't the first language of the creator of this, and that's totally, that's fine. Okay, I understand that. This is not me making fun of it in that sense, but it's just more so the point that this, does not need to be explained. I can see it. He caught the weapon. It's now in his hands. I mean, I feel like even most mangas don't do that, of he has now caught the weapon and just show him holding it. The point isn't more so for, I know it's a mixture between artistry and writing, but sometimes the art can tell more than words can, and I feel like adding words just kind of impedes it a little bit. Sorry, I'm getting into a little bit more symbolism beta here, because I took so many English classes in school and art classes, and I like this stuff. I love symbolism, I love meaning, I love subtlety, I love having interpretation from the viewer or reader's perspective. I don't like having everything, spoon-fed to me. So that's why this is just a little frustrating, especially knowing it's boasting at being a better, fleshed out ending. Here this is, and I'm like, okay. Which I'm not trying to be too mean to the creators here. I know, at the end of the day, they might just want to make a fan project, and that's okay. You can want that. But it's how you go about doing it. The tone, the demeanor, the approach in and of itself all matters within the span of doing. You could just have someone who's a fan of I like Jujutsu Kaisen. I want to try my own take at an ending and do all respect to the characters and just write something up, and that's fine. But when you're boasting it as a big thing and trying to make it this big project and entitling it Jujutsu no Kaisen, it seems retaliatory. It seems so opposite of what a fan project is supposed to be. Celebrating the original creation. Putting your own spin on it because you love the story so much. This isn't that. Either way, well, show me what you got now, and attack with all your might. I'm glad I had the opportunity to fight the strongest of all. Be careful and do not underestimate my strength while you are like this. Stop talking and show me what you got. And then just action panels, which, gonna be honest, I prefer the original, truthfully. That did Kashimo a little bit more justice. So he swings, he jumps, he punches, he whoops, he spits something. It was close. And there he is again. Gwa, boom. There's no way to escape from us. It was a powerful blow that required me to transform into my true form. This is not possible. I expect anything from the King of Curses. He survived due to the strange mouth that suddenly appeared in his abdomen and absorbing all that vast energy. See what I mean with the jumping between art styles here and there? This is the only scary and concerning part of it. But that is the first chapter of Jujutsu no Kaisen, and as such, everyone has been dunking on it. In my opinion, is not respectful to the source material, to the original creator, who had definitely some complications and some worries and concerns with creating a series for 7 years. It definitely doesn't do justice to the characters and just kind of explains everything to you. It feels like, in my opinion, a toddler version of Jujutsu Kaisen where you need everything so explained to you. That's the whole point of drawings and art. You're supposed to interpret it in certain ways. I get writing might not be the forte here, and I know some people were saying that English wasn't the first language of the creator or co-creators of Jujutsu no Kaisen, which that is entirely fair there, where the dialogue might be bad, but you don't need it to be spoon-fed to you. And that was my main concern with it, is just that, okay, this is just a watered down version of what for many had so much emotion and power invoked in a lot of the original panels that were created in the original Jujutsu Kaisen series. So that's pretty much what Jujutsu no Kaisen is. They're working on, I guess, the next chapter. I will not be reading it. I don't think anyone really will. I think the only reason it has the attention that it does is because of everyone dunking on it, negative attention, which, you know, still isn't good attention at the end of the day. All you can really do is just take into account that this is a fan project and, you know, don't really give it the attention it deserves, and support the original creator, support the original work. You know, I'm not sure what other way there is to do that, just besides being respectful to the creator, especially knowing the lamenting he had and how much he's taken the lessons from this last 7 years of writing Jujutsu Kaisen is going on to whatever his next work or whatever he'll be working on next. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing more to say about it besides what it even shows. The writing's on the wall. They showed what they did. I'm not impressed, and truthfully, I'd rather read over some other fan fiction explaining the story either better or in a different way, because I'm sure some like 14-year-old on DeviantArt or fanfic.com or .net can probably write something a little bit better and definitely more respectful to the source material and to the original creator, who worked really hard to make what was. This would have been no problem if at the end of the day someone just put this together and posted on DeviantArt, but it was kind of paraded around as this big, amazing thing. And the tone and demeanor of the original creator or creators of Jujutsu no Kaisen definitely left a bad taste in my mouth, and it rightfully did for many others who were dunking on it, and so with the new release of it, it is not great. So who's to say where it's going to go? I'm not really going to be paying attention to it, but it's something that I want to highlight today because, truthfully, I'm just kind of pissed off when I see stuff like this, especially at an entitled level, knowing very well how hard artists work on creating a story, creating anything, and seeing how some people can be, especially anime fans can be, when consuming media, when consuming a series, whether it be over fanatic or entitled to differently, or being so visceral and mean to the original creator that it affects them on how they're working to create the series overall. Either way, this is different from what I usually do. I know I usually cover furry stuff, but at the end of the day, I still cover art and I like talking about it. And for me, Jujutsu Kaisen is, again, a big part of my life. I've loved it for like years and years now. I don't hate it at all. I'm still a huge fan of it. I'm sad that it's over, but at the same time, I'm glad that I've still gotten to enjoy it through the years that I have. I'll definitely be looking forward to season 3 when that's animated, season 4, or whatever movie they end up doing if they do a movie. I feel like the trend will be a movie, but I think season 4 will be probably the most hyped up season in anime when it happens in 2030. And if you haven't read Jujutsu Kaisen, the manga yet, I highly recommend it. It's like the first manga that I actually ended up picking up, and I really enjoyed it when it was released on the bi-weekly to weekly basis. Gave me something to be excited for during the week, and honestly, just go and support the original creator, Gege Akutami. Read their other works, buy the manga. I'll probably be buying the whole series at some point just to support the creator. And understand that behind any sort of media or art or creation, there is a creator, there's someone who is human behind it, who you don't know is going through X, Y, or Z in order to create what they were creating. So just be respectful of that. I know that's easy for people viewing this, but, you know, Twitter says otherwise, which I think at the end of the day, the lesson is don't pay attention to what Twitter has to say. But either way, I wanted to cover this today because I thought it was neat, and I just like Jujutsu Kaisen. That's really it. So on that note, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this, let me know in the comments. I greatly appreciate it. If you want me to cover anything else like this, be sure to let me know. I haven't done any sort of anime coverage thing, and I highly doubt I'm gonna turn into one of those channels because, you know, the algorithm likes me being furry, so here we are. This video in and of itself is a gamble at the end of the day. So if you enjoyed it, you know, be sure to leave a like and share it. I appreciate all the support. And yeah, that's really about it. If you want to see more videos like this, be sure to check out my Patreon. It's the best way to support me, especially around this time of year, being January and February. Not exactly the best time of year to be a YouTuber, if you know what I mean by that. But yeah, Patreon linked below. Go and check it out. You can see more videos like this early and get first glimpses into what I'm doing. And it's the best way to support me as of right now, from what I know. Either way, that about does it for me. Have a wonderful night. Take care. Life stay jacket. Treat people like people. And that's about it. Take care, guys.